Does it ever feel like you're a marketing professional just speaking into the void? Well, with LinkedIn ads, you can know you're reaching the right decision makers. You can even target buyers by job title, industry, company, seniority, skills. Wait, did I say job title yet? Get started today and see how you can avoid the void and reach the right buyers with LinkedIn ads. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
In honor of Military Appreciation Month, Verizon thought of a lot of different ways we could show our appreciation, like rolling out the red carpet, giving you your own personal marching band, or throwing a bumping shindig. At Verizon, we're doing all that in the form of special military offers. That's why, this month only, we're giving military and veteran families a $200 Verizon gift card and a phone on us, with a select trade-in and a new line on select unlimited plans. Think of it as our way of flying a squadron of jets overhead while launching fireworks. Now that's what we call a celebration, because we're proud to serve you. Visit your local Verizon store to learn more. $200 Verizon gift card requires smartphone purchase $799.99 or more with new line on eligible plan. Gift card sent within 8 weeks after receipt of claim. Phone offer requires $799.99 purchase with new smartphone line on unlimited ultimate or postpaid unlimited plus. Minimum plan $80 a month with autopay plus taxes and fees for 36 months. Less $800 trade-in or promo credit applied over 36 months. 0% APR. Trade-in must be from Apple, Google, or Samsung. Trade-in and additional terms apply.
This podcast is brought to you by Aura. Imagine waking up to find your bank account drained, bills for loans you never took out, a warrant for your arrest, all because someone stole your identity. Hackers aren't waiting. Why are you? That's why we're thrilled to partner with Aura. Your personal data is a goldmine for hackers, and Aura helps lock it down. Aura monitors the dark web, blocks data brokers from selling your information, includes a VPN for private browsing, and a password manager to secure your accounts before criminals break in. For a limited time, Aura is offering our listeners a 14-day free trial plus a dark web scan to check if your personal information has been leaked, all for free at aura.com/safety. That's aura.com/safety to sign up and start protecting yourself and your loved ones. That's aura.com/safety. Terms apply. Check the site for details.
This is Auditory Anthology, a podcast featuring the best sci-fi short fiction. I'm your curator, Keith Conrad. We release new stories every Tuesday and Thursday. If you like what you hear, I hope you'll take the time to rate and review our show on your podcast player of choice. And be sure to recommend it to a friend. That'll help us grow the podcast and continue to share these stories with you each and every week. You can also support the show by subscribing to our new Substack at auditoryanthology.substack.com. By becoming a paid member, you'll help keep the stories coming. You also get every episode commercial free, and now you can vote on which story will feature in upcoming episodes. If you have a story you'd like to contribute to the series, you can visit submissions.soundconceptmedia.com or just follow the link in the show notes. This week's story is Slaughter on Dornel IV by Ivar Jorgensen. Most of the time, getting in a fight in a bar is a very bad idea. But for Larry, a human getting ready for a big boxing match on Dornel IV just might save his life.
Larry Fillmore stared at his beer and mentally roasted his fight manager for the 50th time. Human beings were supposed to be the toughest race that the galaxy had ever spawned. But as a fighter, Larry didn't put too much faith in the theory. He'd fought a good many races throughout the galaxy, and although he had always come out the winner, he had plenty of scars to show for it. He looked around the bar. It was full of various beings, none of them human except himself. "What am I doing here?" he asked himself. "I'm sitting in a cheap little bar on Dornel IV waiting for a Dornelian fighter to kill me tomorrow." But there was no way out of it, Fillmore thought bitterly. Blackmer, his manager, had the whole thing sewed up. Larry had found out 3 months before that Blackmer was cheating him, but that had been too late. According to the contract, Larry had to finish the season or go to prison. If he quit, he would, according to the law, be cheating his manager. On the other hand, if he got killed during the battle, his entire check would go to Blackmer. So Blackmer had done the smart thing. For him. He had lined up Larry with Fornax Kedron, the champion of Dornel. The Dornelians were big, 8 feet high with fingers that ended in razor-sharp claws. Of course, Larry would be provided with steel extensions on his fingers, but they wouldn't help much. Larry had never learned to use them. Cornac's Kedron would kill him in the first round. Larry took another sip of his beer and stared forlornly at the bar. With his fingers, he traced the meaningless designs in the moisture left by the cold glass. Maybe he was taking the coward's way out, but it was the only way he could see. Better a live coward, he thought, than a dead hero. "Another beer, bartender," he called, finishing the one he held. "Coming up, Earthman." The beer arrived, and he took a sip. Training? The hell with it, he thought happily. He was going to get himself completely stewed tonight. Live high, die young, and have a good-looking corpse. Or maybe it would be better simply to get aboard a spaceship and try to get away. Maybe the interstellar police would never find him. He shook his head dismally. That wouldn't work either. Nothing would work. If only he'd had some practice fighting a Dornelian. He reached out for his beer, not noticing that someone had taken the vacant seat next to him. His elbow collided with a glass. The glass tipped, pouring a green bubbling liquor all over the Dornelian sitting next to him. "Stupid Earthman!" snapped the Dornelian contemptuously. "A clumsy beast like you shouldn't be allowed to enter a public place." With one hairy paw, the Dornelian shoved against Larry's shoulder, intending to push him off the bar stool. Larry moved back, more in astonishment than anything else. He hadn't known that Dornelians had any particular prejudice against Earthmen, but there was unmistakable racial hatred in the alien's voice. He put out his hand to the bar and stopped himself from falling off the stool. "What's the idea of that?" Larry growled. "That was an accident, and are you trying to argue with me? Here is the rest of the drink!" The Dornelian laughed and heaved the remaining contents of the glass in Larry's face. A blinding tide of red fury washed over Larry. Without thinking, reacting purely by instinct, he lashed out at the Dornelian. His fist didn't contact. It was blocked by the heavy forearm of his opponent. A hand raked out at Larry, a hand with 6 fingers, each of which was tipped with long, cutting talons. Larry moved his head aside barely in time. The talons raked across his cheek, drawing blood. If he hadn't ducked, the cut would have ripped his throat open. The Dornelian's other hand slashed out. Larry blocked it with his own arm and sent a hard left to the midsection of the 8-foot monster. The Dornelian backed away, snarling. The fight was on for real now. "Little Earthman, I'm going to kill you!" He leaped in suddenly, and his fist smashed against Larry's face. Larry rolled with the blow, but it brought the taste of blood to his mouth. His feet moving fast, the Earthman bobbed back away from the giant. He felt a glow of pleasure within himself. Here was his chance to practice a little with a Dornelian. What better training was there for a championship bout than a barroom brawl? He had to watch out for those claws, though. Those deadly razors had sprouted from the Dornelian's fingertips. 2 other Dornelians started to move in, but an Aldebaranian, a huge reptile beast, slow-moving but powerful, stepped in front of them. "Keep back," he hissed in his snake-like voice. "This is a personal quarrel." Larry heard an Arcturian Spider-Man click his mandibles together and whisper, "Yes, let the Earthman fight it out for himself." Larry wasn't too worried. He had fought to the death on 100 planets and hadn't been killed yet. An ordinary Dornelian didn't bother him much. He moved in confidently for the knockout. His fist lashed out, but his opponent was even faster. Larry connected with nothing but empty air, and the Dornelian's claws raked down his side as the other hand slammed against the side of his head. Dazed, Larry danced back. His arm was dripping blood, and his head felt groggy and heavy. The Dornelian threw a left jab, and Larry blocked it with his own left arm. But the giant had done something unexpected. Instead of striking with his closed fist, he had suddenly extended his fingers. The sharp claws stabbed deep into the muscle of the Earthman's forearm, sending a wave of pain to his shoulder. Again, Larry backed away, his arm aching from the wounds. Quickly, he reversed his direction and stepped back in. This time he used a kick, but the Dornelian sidestepped. The toe of Larry's boot caught his hip. Cursing, the Dornelian closed in. He punched a hand forward, claws extended. Larry stepped to one side and grabbed the hairy wrist. Using the giant's strength and weight to his own advantage, he propelled the monster across the room, slamming him up against the bar. Then he leaped forward to smash in the Dornelian's ribcage with his heavy boots. He was not quick enough. The giant rolled aside and sprang to his feet. Snarling viciously, he advanced toward the Earthman. One hand came down in a hard, chopping blow. Larry managed to fend it off, but the Dornelian's other hand slugged into the pit of his stomach. Weak with pain, Larry staggered back. He aimed a kick at the alien's shin, and it connected hard. Taking advantage of his opportunity, Larry stepped in. His heel came down on the Dornelian's toes at the same time that his fist slammed into the bristly jaw. The giant reeled backwards, his taloned hand slashing through the air. He regained his balance and came forward again, but this time Larry was ready for him. The Dornelian stepped square into a blow to the stomach. Oddly enough, it didn't seem to bother him much. Then Larry remembered that the Dornelian nervous system wasn't much like an Earthman's. The nerves just weren't in the same places. But where were they? Again, he cursed Blackmer. The manager hadn't told him anything about Dornelians, and let him sign for the fight with Fornax Kedron even though it would be sheer murder. Well, Larry thought somberly, I'll learn tonight, if I ever get out of this bar alive. He took a deep breath and glanced at the giant, who had recovered from Larry's onslaught. The Dornelian stepped in with a fast 1-2, a rake across the face with his left, and a smash to the heart with his right. The claws to his face alerted Larry for the blow to the heart. He stepped back just enough to avoid being really hurt. But the Dornelian's talons had raked his forehead, cutting in deeply. Blood was pouring down over his eyes. He took a quick look around the bar. The customers were gathered in a ring and were watching the contest wide-eyed, as if they were in 50-credit ringside seats. The Dornelian still looked relatively unscratched, while Larry knew he looked as though he'd rolled over a barbed wire fence. But in spite of the blood, Larry had finally gotten the measure of his opponent. The 8-foot giant weighed close to 500 pounds. His mass was too great for him to be able to handle his body rapidly, no matter how fast his reflexes were. Larry moved in again. He planted a hard right directly to the giant's throat. There had to be nerves there. The Dornelian gagged and dropped his head. Larry smiled and slammed his fist into the giant's ribcage, doubling him up even more. He could almost hear the crowd cheering now as he moved in for the kill. He sucked in his breath and lifted one foot from the floor. His right fist came up from his knees, gaining speed as it rose. Like a hammer, it crashed into the hairy jaw of the Dornelian, and Larry could feel bones splintering against his knuckles. Like an oak with rotten roots, the great Dornelian toppled to the floor. He landed with a crash that seemed to shake the building. Larry stood over the fallen giant for a moment, catching his breath, wondering when the referee was going to start the count. Then he realized there wasn't going to be any count. There wasn't any referee. His arms were quivering and his face was dripping with blood. He turned away, mopping his face clean, and started to pick up his unfinished beer when the wailing of sirens echoed through the bar. Police! Someone had called the Dornelian police! The Arcturian Spider-Man sidled up to him. "Well done, Earthman," he said in his whispering voice. "Come with me. I have a car outside." Without another word, the Arcturian scuttled toward the door. Larry paused for a fraction of a second before making up his mind. As well trust the Arcturian as anyone. If the police caught him, his life wouldn't be worth a counterfeit credit. No one tried to stop him as he ran out the door. The Arcturian's car was waiting just outside. Larry climbed in, and the Spider-Man slammed one of his many feet down on the accelerator. The car shot off into the night, its turbo-electric engine humming smoothly. "Well, Earthman," said the grating, whispering voice, "you made hash out of the Dornelian. Frankly, I was surprised." "So was I," Larry said. "I don't know why I'm bothering to run away. All they'll have to do is pick me up at the hotel." The Arcturian chuckled dryly. "No, I don't think anyone recognized you. Don't forget that all Earthmen look alike to other beings. The only reason I knew who you were is that I'm a fan of yours. I was glad to see you beat that Dornelian, believe me." "Thanks," Larry said, "but it's not going to do me any good when I get into the ring against Fornax Kedron. If an ordinary Dornelian citizen puts up a fight like that, what am I going to do against a professional boxer?" The Arcturian laughed again. "Just get in there and fight, Fillmore. You can handle him. I'm sure you can." The car pulled up before the hotel where Larry and his manager were staying, and Larry got out. The Arcturian waved to him and drove off. Wearily, Larry dragged himself inside and into the elevator. 17, please. Yes, sir, Mr. Fillmore, said the Dornelian elevator boy. He pushed open the door to his room and dropped on the bed, dead tired. He didn't dare look in the mirror. He was afraid to see what a mess the Dornelian had made out of his face, which hadn't been any too neat before. "Blackmer," he called. There was no answer. The manager was not around. Larry got up, looked bleary-eyed into the other room, and, seeing no one, dropped off into a deep sleep. His last thought before he blacked out was that he'd get into the ring and do his best. He'd already beaten one Dornelian. How tough could Fornax Kedron be? And what did it matter anyway? He was bound to get killed sooner or later anyway. That was the unspoken assumption every fighter operated under. When he awoke the following morning, he didn't feel quite so certain about things. The brawl the night before had taken a terrific toll on his nervous system, and he knew that he'd be butchered if he stepped into the ring with the Dornelian champ. He was in no condition to fight. "Blackmer, you here?" The manager's bed had been slept in, but there was no sign of him. Larry groped for the house phone, grabbed it, spoke into it. "You know where Mr. Blackmer is?" "He's in the bar, sir," said the switchboard boy. "Do you want me to call him for you?" "Yes, please." A moment later, Larry heard the manager's harsh voice. "Blackmer here? Who's calling?" "This is Larry. I'm ready for that fight, Blackmer," he said, hoping he'd have the strength to go through with it. "And after I get through with the Dornelian, I'm gonna knock your teeth in. This is my last fight for you." "Now, Larry," Blackmer said, "don't be hasty. Shut up! We're quits. I may get killed in that ring, but I'll fight just this once, and— What? Haven't you heard? The fight's off!" Larry blinked in astonishment. "How would I have heard? I thought the news was all over. That's why I didn't bother to wake you. Fornax Kedron is in the hospital. He got his jaw broken in a bar brawl last night. Nobody knows who did it, but I got another bout lined up on Nomarang 6 with— "Skip it," Larry said. "I'll discuss it with you some other time." Larry slowly dropped the receiver back on the hook. He grinned, and then he began to laugh.
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Get started today at linkedin.com/results. Terms and conditions apply.
Did you know that selling your home is one of the top 5 most stressful things you do in your lifetime? Hi, I'm Sarah Reynolds, CEO of Reynolds Empower Home Team with Keller Williams. Debbie and I are here to help remove the stress of selling your home by guaranteeing in writing that if your home doesn't sell, we will buy it. That's our guarantee. Many agents promise to sell your home, but can they guarantee it in writing? We can. Call us to sell your home today, guaranteed. 703-637-SOLD or go to debbiehasthebuyers.com.
Auditory Anthology is curated and produced by me, Keith Conrad. Your narrator is Darren Marlar. Be sure to check out Darren's award-winning paranormal podcast, Weird Darkness, available at WeirdDarkness.com and your podcast app of choice. This week's story was Slaughter on Dornel IV by Ivar Jorgensen. It was first published in Imagination Stories of Science and Fantasy in April of 1957. Next week, we'll have our spooky sci-fi stories called Tales from the Blue Line on Tuesday, and then our regular Thursday story will be The Jupiter Weapon by Charles L. Fontenay. When a drunken guard leaves a woman stranded in a sleazy saloon on Ganymede, I think we've all had days like that, she finds an unlikely protector in a quiet man whose strange cowardice may hide a deadly secret.
You can save up to $850 at Mattress Warehouse right now. And trust us when we say that'll go a long way. Visit mattresswarehouse.com.